How's it going, guys? Welcome back and thanks for tuning in to my review of the CRKT Crossbones knife. This is a Jeff Park design. Jeff Park, I don't know too much about him, haven't met him, but what I do know about him is that he's worked very closely with Ken Onion at Ken's shop in Kaneohe, Hawaii. And yeah, that's how you say it, Kaneohe. I should know, I used to live in that area. But yeah, this is a Jeff Park design, again, very close to Ken Onion, which is very cool. I don't know if you see any Ken Onion inspiration in there, but I definitely see some bold design cues, and that could be, at the very least, you know, what Jeff is sort of getting from Ken Onion, just license to kind of make something bold and interesting. And that's what we have with the Crossbones. I think it's a real interesting design, really cool looking. And we'll show you sort of what that looks like folded, because that's kind of one of the coolest features. You see that it's got a very kind of a concave shape on either side of that, and that's maintained even when the blade is closed. So you see a little sliver of that that blade spine right there, but not much. And that's how we end up with that trailing point on that blade spine and that blade shape. No problems with that. It's very, very cool looking. Almost reminds me of like a fillet knife or something. And just generally speaking and aesthetically speaking, it's a really, really good looking knife. We could talk about the width on it, which is not super skinny. I don't have my ruler handy, do I? No, but it's, I would say that's comparable with, let's see. Yeah, there's one. That'd be the Boker Patriot, and it's right on par with the Boker Patriot. We'll bring out some other knives here shortly to compare it to. Aluminum scales there, and they are kind of done in this, not bronze, but just an anodized, kind of like a natural anodized aluminum, sort of like the natural color that anodized aluminum gets, which is very good looking. Steel on it, AUS 8, which is a really good choice. And the blade came really nice and sharp from the factory. So liner lock construction on it. As you can see, we've got liners both on that side and that side. And then as far as clip position, we can put it here. And that's it. We've also got a little loop right there for the lanyard. Very well thought out and executed, I have to say. They could easily have just kind of followed the exact same line here with the full shape of the knife, but instead what they've done is incorporated the back spacer there into and made the lanyard hole out of the back spacer, and then just kind of chopped a little bit of the knife, or I should say the handle, out. That's kind of the impression that you get by looking at it, and it's a really cool use of space and use of materials. I like it. Again, construction pretty simple. You can see that it's all screwed together, so you need to take it apart at some point. You do have that option. And just generally speaking, really, really good looking. It does have the IKBS system in there, which is marvelous. Love seeing that. IKBS, if you don't know, is basically a pivot that includes ball bearings, caged ball bearings, to make a very fast, very smooth deployment every time. And also, it makes it so that we've got just incredibly perfect lockup. Whatever it is about how all that works, it just never ever seems to move. So side to side, nothing. Front to back, nothing, ever. IKBS, I just love it. Any of those ball bearing systems I love, but IKBS in particular does very well. And I had my finger in the way of the back of the blade when I did that. That's more like it. Talking about that blade edge, and you do see that it is full flat ground from the spine on down. The bevel on there, to give you some idea, what we have is the Richard Kell bevel gauge, and I went and looked at this earlier, and what I found is that about 45 degrees is what we're getting on that final cutting edge. So that's basically, you know, what you want to know about the knife. Carries great, nice and deep in that pocket clip. Carried it for quite a while since CRKT sent it to me, and thanks again, CRKT, for helping out with that. Give you a couple more details on it. As you saw, it is a flipper. That's your flipper right there. Comes around to the backside, nice and knurled on the top. Yep, there you can see that. And a little bit right there as well. There and there. So that's kind of how the whole thing functions. And like I said before, carries well. I've carried it for quite a while. Months it's been since I first got it. it's just a really nice, very pleasant knife to carry. Takes up very little room in pocket, as you can tell, this direction. Okay, let's compare that to something like, what do we have here? Here's the Spyderco Tenacious in Digicam, exclusively available from Blade HQ, so go check them out. And as you can see, that would fill up quite a bit of space in your pocket in that direction. Whereas this, by comparison, just a fraction of it. I mean, less than half, it feels like. So from that perspective and that dimension, it is very small, very diminutive in pocket, which is a great thing. A couple other details on it. The blade length, the overall length, we'll give you that first, about 8 inches or so. Blade length itself, about 3.54. As I said before, AUS 8 for the steel. Blade thickness, about 0.13. Let's see, what else? I don't know, man. There's a few other details, but you can look most of that stuff up. Let's give you the weight on it. The weight on it, always important. Make it so that we can actually see. 2.4. Fantastic weight. Real easy to walk around with and carry every day. Just no problem there. Real comfortable knife to carry. Let's compare it to a handful of other knives close to the same size and, sort of purpose range, if we want to give it that kind of a name. How about the Booker Patriot, since we had that out earlier? Pretty close in weight, I would say. Definitely a different and not more interesting, but different design, also interesting. And let's bring out, how about Kershaw Dividend? One of my favorite knives of this year, I would say. Just incredibly impressive. USA made 420 HC steel, I believe is what that is. This one 154 cm, also very good steel. Comparative to AUS 8, I would say I like that a little better, but AUS 8 performs really nicely. I didn't give you a price. $60. $60. And it is Taiwan made. Okay? Keep that in mind. One more Kershaw because I like it. There's the leak. Quite a bit smaller, but kind of fits into the same sort of carry weight range. Definitely does, in my opinion. And kind of the same, type of use, really. Really fine point on the leak, really fine point on the crossbones. It's not quite CRKT's leak, but it's kind of in that same neighborhood, How about one more? This guy is brand new, and you'll be seeing another kind of first look video on it. That is the Benchmade Bug Out. Just got it in hand a couple of weeks ago. Thanks to Benchmade for sending it out. And we're going to do the full review on that. But first, we will do a first look video to kind of give you a rundown and discussion on it. But that's a quick look at it in comparison to the CRKT Crossbones. All right, guys, so that is kind of more or less all the info I've got on the knife. I did do some work with it. I do work with all the knives that I get. I try to do something interesting, something fun. It used to just be paper, cardboard, and then, a little bit of whittling on wood. But nowadays, I try to actually make something out of wood. And this is what I made with the CRKT Crossbones. What is that? Well, it's a spreader. Like you're at camp and you got some jelly or some peanut butter or some sauces or some other stuff, and you're like, you need to spread something, but you ran out of plastic knives, or you just want to kind of have a little spreader for doing stuff. And this is a spreader. So that's what that is. It's kind of like a little peanut butter spreader sort of thing. Butter knife, maybe you might call it. And that was carved out of some basswood, harvested from a tree nearby me. And that's it. So that's the work I did with the CRKT Crossbones. Real easy work, real easy to whittle with. Kept the edge the entire time I was working with it. Super easy to work with. Never found any ergonomic issues in doing any of that work. Found it to be real comfortable in hand and performed great too. So I could see it being used for a number of other things. As far as actually putting it into like a fillet type of roll, I would say you'd want to probably reprofile that edge first because it's a little too obtuse for that really, really fine type of slicing. It may perform fine as it is, but just me personally, I'd want that to be as fine a bevel as possible for that type of slicing. That said, it's a great EDC knife as is, and fun to carry around, fun to use. It's $60. Is it what you need? Is it something that you will go for? Well, I'll leave that entirely up to you, but I've enjoyed playing with it, and I think it's a real nice knife. I'm Late Boy Scout. Thanks for watching. See you later.